Hi there, thanks so much for joining me. Today I'm going to work on this 6-inch square canvas, not very big, and as you can see it's already got a layer of white paint on it. I used up some spare that was left over from a class just to create a little bit of texture. I'm also going to add to that texture using some more paint and the knife, and then I'm going to work with these favourite inks of mine, the acrylic inks, along with this interesting paint. So the first thing I want to do is give myself a suggestion of a sort of horizon line. I want to make a very loose landscape and I want to use muted colours. I'm going to use metallics, but I'm also going to alter that as it goes along. So this is just to give me a bit of a rough outline to work to. And now I'm deciding I'm actually going to work it the other way up. I want the bottom to have a lot more interest, and so we'll start there. I'm just using this beautiful iridescent copper straight from the bottle using the pipette, just along those lines, just a rough sort of copy of those lines. And I'm also going to add in some gold. Now these look bright, and I said I was going to use muted colours, but you'll see as this goes on, they'd start to disappear. And using the metal palette knife, I'm just pulling them across the surface of that texture. It's all dry, so they're just going to settle on some of the raised areas and fall into the gaps. Just pushing it gently. And I'm just going to spritz that area because I've got a little blob of copper there and soften it away with my finger. You could use a brush, I'm just being very lazy. Okay, and then we'll just soften the top as well. And just blend it in. That's better. Now, while that's still wet, I'm going to go in with some titanium white and I'm just going to brush it across, and I don't mind if it mixes, that's absolutely fine, it'll soften those colours. And now I'm just tapping the wet paint just to create those interesting little dimples, grooves, all that sort of surface texture. We're going to enjoy using that. I don't want it all textured, so I'm just going to put some, and I'm going to smooth it out just at the top, I think. Again, you can see where the gold is already disappearing, softening that colour. That looks fine. Now I've mixed myself some Payne's grey ink, using up the remains of an old tub, just with plenty of water, and put it into a little bottle, but I'm using this pipette to apply it. And a bit of a spritz with a pen spray, a little bit easier to direct, and we'll let that run into that wet paint. And it's going to create some very interesting textures. Now I don't really want to stand here holding this all the time, so what I'm going to do is just pop this onto a little pot, just to allow it to keep running, then I can concentrate on other things I want to do with it. So I'm going to let it run, and I want it to move a little bit more. Let's add a little bit more gold, that will also run into the grey. A little bit more on the top. And again, I'm just going to pull that, I'm sort of patting it into that wet white paint. It'll add to the texture, it'll mix the colours together and it will soften them. And also, obviously I'm picking up a little bit of that colour on the blade of the knife. So as I do, I'm just going to move that around, pop it into the paint, just keep moving it until I'm happy with where it is. And I'll lift that centre out of that ink, it's just a little bit harsh. That looks better. Now, just adding a little bit more emphasis to that horizon line with the ink. This is still on that pot, so this is all going to keep running and just keep flowing, keeping it nice and loose. And then I'm going to drop in a few drops of titanium white ink. So it's softening it down, running nicely. Now, I'm sorry this has gone slightly off camera, but all I'm doing is just blending the white and the grey, just pulling that out. And as you can see, that's softened that corner. Now, this texture is brilliant. It's settled into some of the dips and left the peaks of it nice and white. Now, this paint I'm going to use looks blue in the tube, and in the light it is a lovely blue, but it's also sort of a dark brown as well. It's a really strange colour. Very, very interesting shimmer. Now, as you can see with the light on, it's lovely in blue. Just pulling that out right across that texture. That's already dry, so it is nice working on the dry canvas now. And here where I'm grazing it, you can see it doesn't look blue, but it is, which is really interesting effects. Now, I think I'm just softening that centre out a little bit. It's just gone a little bit heavy, so I've just wet it. I'm just lifting it out with a piece of kitchen roll and just grazing some white paint over the top, keeping it nice and soft. And all these little highlighted bits, I just add a little bit more white. The gold and the copper have disappeared quite a lot now. If I tilt this, you can see the shade of blue. It's really interesting. I'm quite happy with that, but I want to add a little bit more of this copper. It's sort of not balanced, so I want to add a little more on this bottom left-hand side. Just again going in with the pipette. There is a little area of wet white paint there, so I'm just going around it and just add a bit on this side as well. And using the small palette knife now just to push that around. Obviously, if you were working on a much larger canvas, you could do the same sort of design and you could use much larger knives. Just pushing that into place. Yeah, that's balanced it a lot more. I'm happy with that blend of colours. And here we have the finished painting, and it's dry. I like the shimmer. I hope it gives you an idea of being able to do a small abstract with just a very limited amount of inks. Do please pop any questions, and thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Keep painting!